This video is going to go over dice fighting basics on Blood Moon RP server for Conan Exiles. All fights, no matter who starts them, begin using PvP intent. So if you're the one who wants to start a fight, you emote something indicating that you're going to start a fight. This can be you drawing your weapon or jumping out of your chair, anything that makes sense for the situation you're in and the level of intensity of the scene. Using weapons during a fight indicates a character's desire to do harm, potentially even kill. Make sure if you're drawing your character's weapon to start a fight, that you're prepared to deal with the consequences in the event that you lose. To declare PvP intent, use Shift R, and then go to the Abilities tab. The use of the PvP intent ability locks the scene. All characters within the scene lock must stay until the end of the fight, even if they're not participating. Once the scene is locked, characters shouldn't move, except when using movement abilities on their turn. We'll go over movement a little more in a bit, just be aware that once PvP intent's declared, you shouldn't be moving around. The purpose of scene lock is to help guard against the time difference between real-time actions like running across the map and the time it takes to complete a dice fight. Characters that enter a scene-locked area are considered locked in the scene, even if they do so after the scene is initiated. They may not participate until the scene lock is over, but they have to wait in that area on the sidelines, preferably without interrupting the fight with a bunch of chatter. If you absolutely have to speak to another character during this time, please use the whisper function so that you don't distract from those who are fighting. If you wish to avoid being locked in a scene, just don't approach it. Stay far away. Your character is not witness to anything that occurs within the locked scene, and has no knowledge that a fight has even occurred. Just ignore the fact that it's happened altogether, and stay far away. Once PvP intent is declared, all characters within range must respond, even if the PvP intent is not directed at them. PvP accept indicates that you intend to fight back. PvP join indicates that you intend to fight, usually when you're joining a fight between two other people that isn't directly involving you. It can also be used to indicate which side you're joining, such as PvP joined Big John, or to just say that you're joining the fight in general. PvP flee is used when you intend to run from the fight. If you're planning on fleeing, you have to wait until your turn to use the flee ability. This is simply you telegraphing your intent to run, so that those around you can react accordingly. It's not required, it's just a way to help enhance your roleplay and the roleplay of those around you. PvP observe is for those who intend to watch the fight, but not participate. It should be noted that opting to observe a fight does not mean that you won't be dragged into it. Observers can still be attacked, they can be hit intentionally or unintentionally, and they may choose to join the fight at a later round by simply typing PvP join and jumping in at the end of the turn order. Once all the declarations are made, all characters that are not observing should roll initiative to establish turn order. In larger fights, it can be useful to add your initiative roll into your bio and Shift R to help keep turn order straight. Ties should re-roll to establish themselves within the turn order as shown on the screen. Once turn order is established, the fight begins. Whoever has the highest roll goes first. On your turn, you'll be allowed to perform one action and one bonus action. You may not always use both, but you cannot use more than one action and one bonus action. Examples of actions include things like attacking an opponent, or declaring PvP flee, or moving from one place to another using a movement ability. Examples of bonus actions include things like drinking a potion, or tossing something to an ally, shouting instructions to someone, or dropping your current weapon and grabbing another. It should be noted, you don't have to actually throw the weapon on the ground to do this. Just emote that you're doing it and remember that it is on the ground, so that if you wish to use it again, you need to spend a bonus action to pick it up. Ammunition like arrows, throwing axes, and orbs don't require a weapon swap as long as you're using the same kind of arrow. For example, you can knock another arrow without using your bonus action, even if it's a different type of arrow. But if you want to change from an orb to a throwing axe, that would require a weapon swap, and you would need to spend your bonus action to do so. Okay. Let's say that it's our turn. For this example, we're going to use a basic weapon attack. If you train your character in combat, you may find that you learn a variety of other types of attacks, all of which follow the same basic format. To take your turn, emote what you're doing and then use the appropriate ability in the Shift R abilities menu. The system will roll our attack versus our opponent's ability to avoid being hit. Usually this means dodge. Then, if our attack is successful, it will calculate damage based on the damage range of the weapon we're using and our skill using that type of weapon, versus our opponent's armor and any resistances they have against that damage type. You can spend your action and your bonus action in any order. In this case, we don't have a necessary bonus action to take, so it's the next person's turn. Everyone gets a turn in the order of the initiative rolls, and then you start another round. Alright, so everyone else has had their turn, and now it's our turn again. Assuming we haven't been downed and are still able to fight, we get another action and bonus action. This time we're going to use our action to attack, and our bonus action to drink a potion to help recover some of the HP we lost in the last round. We can wrap both of these activities into a single emote. Notice that I'm keeping these emotes relatively brief and open-ended, to allow for those being attacked to decide what happens to their character, rather than me dictating it to them. For example, I'm not saying that I swing the sword at his head. I'm saying I swing the sword or jab at him and then allow him to choose where he gets hit and how to react to that hit in the event that it lands. While it's not required to emote in this way, it is highly encouraged in order to facilitate collaborative storytelling, where both parties get a say not only in the actions of their character, but also in what happens to their character throughout the fight. You can also choose to wrap reactions into emotes on your turn. For example, I might say something like, dodges deftly out of the way, or winces in pain as the blade bites into her arm before I add my own action and my roll. Here you can see my reaction to the other character's attack, my own action, and then a bonus action all wrapped up into one emote. Then I just use my Shift R panel, find and use my action ability, and then use my bonus action ability, and that's the end of my turn. Let's take a moment to talk about some other actions that you might take. Movement is a pretty common one, and it's used to either gain ground on your opponent or put distance between you. To spend your action for movement, simply select the movement ability from Shift R abilities, and then use the little foot icon to measure your distance. Once you've traveled the distance that you're dictated based on your movement ability, click the foot again and it will post it to chat for everyone else to see and verify. Some abilities have crowd control effects such as stuns and knockdowns, and some of these statuses have penalties to your stats until the status is cleared. For example, if it's on my opponent's turn and I get knocked down, I have to wait until my next turn to use the corresponding cancel ability, which could spend my action, my bonus action, or my entire turn. You can find out more information about these abilities by hovering over them in the Abilities tab, and just make sure that you're following the instructions given to you on the screen in the chat box. Rounds continue in this fashion, with every participating player taking their turn in order, spending their actions, their bonus actions, and emoting, until all opponents on one side are downed. Down simply means that you've run out of HP or hit points. At this point, your character is considered incapacitated or too injured to continue to fight. When all the characters on one side of the fight are downed, the scene lock lifts using the Cancel Scene Lock ability in Shift R. Scene lock must be lifted before consequences are enacted to give other characters in the area the opportunity to intervene or start another fight. So say my character lost this fight. I can use Shift H to display my character appropriately as laying or sitting on the ground, and I emote something about falling or being knocked down and being unable to continue to fight. At that point, before anything else happens, the scene lock is lifted, and other characters, should there be any in the area, have the opportunity to intervene. You should not lift scene lock and then immediately perform a consequence action if there are other characters in the area who might wish to stop you. Split your emotes up into 2 or 3 posts, telegraphing your intent to cause harm to the person who's downed or whatever it is that you're going to do to them, and give other people the opportunity to contribute to the scene that was previously locked and would not allow them to participate. If you're the character who's won the fight, keep in mind our consequences set up here on Blood Moon. While we are a non-consensual grimdark server, we do try to keep a mindset of fair gameplay and slowly escalating storylines because we think that that just makes a better story. As a general rule of thumb, you should not be trying to kill a character the first time you have a fight with them. It makes you look like an asshole, and it also cuts off all avenues of story with that character later on. Instead, try to tailor your consequences in a slowly escalating fashion and make them proportionate to the things that were done that caused the fight to begin in the first place. If you need help with ideas of appropriate consequences that are scalable based on a variety of situations, we have a crime and punishment guide in the resources and FAQ section under player tools in Discord. Once consequences have been enacted, the scene should disperse. Generally, that means the person who won the fight leaves the area. There are some situations where that doesn't make sense, for example, if they're in their own home, in which case they should put the person who consequences were enacted against outside or somewhere else so that they can get away from the area. And that just gives both sides the ability to RP out the ripple effects that fall out of the fight. As a final note, I just want to say, while conflict RP can be fun, non-stop conflict RP is exhausting. Make sure that you give your opponents plenty of time to RP out the consequences of the fight that you just escalated. Slow RP is generally better. It makes for a richer story, and it helps prevent burnout. As always, if you have any questions about our combat system, you're welcome to open a help ticket, or feel free to ask other players in-game in brackets. It's okay to say, hey, I'm new, I don't quite know how all this works. You'll find the other players here are really open to helping new folks learn the ropes. So don't be intimidated, even if it's new, even if you've never played in a system like this before. You got this.